Alright, and now on to the next part of the process, which is the analysis portion. And I've got here my computer, which has MATLAB on it, thank goodness. And it also has an SD card slot. So I've taken the SD card that I took from this camera and plugging it into the slot. I'm going to grab the file that I just made, and it's on Casio DSC, DCIM, should be the most recent right here. I will drag this to the desktop, and then we will have the video. 1.21 gigabytes. 1.21 gigabytes. Yeah, interesting. So it's copying. Well, it's copying, doesn't matter. Okay, so, yeah. So what happens with the Flytracker program is that it takes the original video and chops it up into segments for each run of the flies. And it also takes several frames from the video and outputs them. And then it also outputs the data, the analysis that the Flytracker program does. So the first thing that we want to do is to make a new folder. And we will call this folder Flytracker tutorial. And I am going to put the video that I just made into that folder. And the reason I make a new folder is because when I do the analysis, it's going to create all these files, and it's going to create them wherever that video is on my computer. And I like to keep everything contained in a folder. Now this is actually very interesting. If I have multiple videos in that folder, Flytracker will actually analyze all of them and output the results into that folder. And that can be very useful in cases such as when I am trying to compare 20 different vials and I have to do them in batches of 6. So I can make 4 different videos, has all of those files in them, and then take those 4 videos and put them into a single folder and have Flytracker run on that folder. So Flytracker is a MATLAB program, and the first thing that we need to do is to find the video. So I'm going to do a little browsing here, and there it is, Flytracker tutorial. So I select the folder that the files that I want to analyze are in, and I open it. And there's my video, and then all I need to do is say Flytracker. So how many vials are being compared? And that's an important thing because the program does not automatically detect how many vials there are, and that's an important thing because it's going to divide up the screen into various segments. So there were 6 vials being compared in this video. I put in 6. And do I want to see the details? I think this is just a matter of, do I want to watch the process taking place on the screen of the computer? And I will for this purpose, but it's slower that way and isn't really not necessary. So we're just going to say yes for now. Alright, so it is creating an overview. The first thing it does is it goes through the entire video and it analyzes where the segments are. And another thing that it does really nicely here is over here on the left you can see that it put out the first frame. And that is cool because we can take that first frame and look at it, and that will tell us what our flies are. See, we can very clearly see which vials are where. Alright, so back. And the program's not working properly, but that's actually one of the things that is an advantage of using the show details mode, because I can see very clearly that it's creating these segments that it shouldn't be creating, and I'm not sure why that's happening. Oh, I know why. I know what's going on. The first step in the process is the segmentation. And what it does is it looks at the entire video. And then it segments it based on the major changes that have taken place during the course of that video. Now, in this case, I turned off the lights. That was a major change. So when it did the evaluation of the entire video, it evaluated the overall luminance and brightness and everything. And now, when it looks for things that are different from that overall brightness and luminance, it's detecting the first long segment when I had the lights on. Now it's starting to work. Alright, good. So I'll just have to make sure I get rid of those. But now we can see this is starting to work. It's doing a fair job of identifying the flies, and eliminates the background. This would be second 2, 3. You gotta do it at least 3 seconds. Okay. Now here's an example of when it did not do a very good job of segmenting. I'm not segmenting. Well, see, what it does first is it identifies where the vials are. And it does that by identifying where the flies are, and then dividing it up into compartments based on the number of vials that you told it were in there. But sometimes something goes wrong, like in this case, and it doesn't do a good job of either detecting the flies, or maybe there's some glare that somehow got involved, or something shook. That can throw it off as well. The time when the flies are climbing, the image needs to be completely still, other than the flies. And I haven't figured out how to make it work perfectly. But all of these images are saved. So you can actually go back and see which of these segments have been properly done and which ones haven't. and then you can eliminate the ones that were not done properly. Such as this one. Alright, so it is working. Should be done pretty soon, I think. We'll have 10 segments were no good in the beginning. Yeah, and so that's why you need to let it run for at least 3 seconds, is because when you're measuring the speed of the flies, you're subtracting the average position of the flies at second number 3. Well, taking the average position of the fly at second number 3 and subtracting the average position of the flies at segment number 2. And therefore you need to have both segments. You need to have something at it's done. You need to have something at the 3rd second and at the 2nd second so that it can make that interpolation. Alright, so there you go. And it took 961 seconds. But that's only because it wasn't working properly, because I turned on the lights, or turned off the lights in the middle of the video. Yeah, generally speaking, you've got to make sure that the conditions are consistent from beginning to end of the video. Well, now let's see what we got backwards here. And we can see here one of the last ones here is the file called output. So that one, let's see. Yeah, there it goes. Aha! So look at this. Oh, beautiful. It shows the video, it's got the name of the video on there, which file it is, the average speed in there, the standard error, the mean of the speed, the standard deviation of the speed, all of these.
Okay, and now I'm going to show you very briefly how to analyze this data, or at least chart this data. You can select the speeds here, the average speed column, and then make a quick clustered column out of it. And then right-click on one of these bars, and you can format data series. And this is so we can put in the error bars, which we always have to do. And put both cap, custom, and specify a value. And the positive error values, click on the chart here, will be there. And then you can select that same range and paste it in here. And boom, you got it. And that is your average speed chart.